I always thought the people who'd raised me, fed me, scolded me, shaped me would at least protect the things I loved. But the truth hit me like a fist the moment I stepped through the door that day. It wasn't a sound that told me something was wrong. It was the absence of one. My dog, Miko, was always the first to greet me. His paws on the floor, his joyful chaos, the little yelp he made when he was excited. It was the soundtrack of home. That afternoon there was nothing. No scuffle of nails, no brush of fur against my leg. Just silence. I called his name once. My voice cracked. I tried again, louder this time. Still nothing. A weight settled in my chest, thick enough to push my breath back down my throat. I walked into the kitchen and found my mother, Renee, loading the dishwasher like it was an ordinary day. Like the air wasn't suffocating me. "Where's Miko?" I asked. She didn't even turn around. "I rehomed him," she said. "Sammy needed a tablet for school. You'll get over it." I didn't blink. Couldn't move. For a second I thought I misheard, that maybe she said something else. Something human. "You rehomed him?" I whispered. She finally looked up, irritated instead of guilty. "Stop reacting like a child. He was worth good money. And your nephew needed that tablet." My throat burned. My hands shook so hard I had to hold onto the counter just to stay upright. I walked out before the anger could speak for me. My father, Calvin, was in the garage tightening a bolt on his bike. I stood there for barely a second before I asked, "Did you know?" He shrugged. "Your mom figured you'd understand. Kids need things." A rope inside me, one that had frayed for years, finally snapped. Upstairs, Miko's empty crate sat like a tomb. His leash still hung on the doorknob. One of his toys, a stuffed blue whale, lay on its side as if he'd dropped it moments before disappearing. Except he didn't disappear. They sold him. Not impulsively. Not mistakenly. They planned it. They discussed it. And they chose convenience over the only thing that kept me sane in that house. That night I didn't eat. I didn't cry. I didn't sleep. I hunted. Craigslist, local rescues, shady rehoming pages, anything that might hold a trace of him. I stared at every listing like it was a potential heartbeat. Then, around noon the next day, I found him listed under a new name, but those mismatched eyes. I would have known them blindfolded. The family agreed to meet me at a park if I brought cash. I didn't hesitate when I saw him in their backseat. His ears shot up and his tail wagged like a storm. He pressed his face into my hands and whined, recognizing me before I even opened my mouth. I brought him home. And the moment I stepped inside, Renee dropped a spatula to the floor. "You bought him back," she whispered. "No," I said. "I took back what was mine." I locked my door and stayed there. They pounded on the walls, shouting about how I ruined the holidays, how dramatic I was, how ungrateful. I didn't answer. Miko curled against me, and for the first time in years I felt safe. The next morning my phone flashed. No service. No Wi-Fi. Disconnected. A punishment. A reminder of control. But they forgot one thing: the household account, the one they used to pay every bill, was in my name. They'd convinced me months earlier that it would make things easier. Easier for them to drain it. Easier for them to use me. So I emptied the account. Every cent into a new one. Then I removed their access completely. When I called the bank to report unauthorized transactions, the representative told me I might get many of them reversed. That felt like fresh air for the first time in years. I packed a duffel bag. Took Miko. Walked out. I went to the only person who had ever told me I had a place if I needed one, my coworker Mara. She opened her door without hesitation and didn't ask a single question. That night messages poured in. "Where are you? Come home, stop being ridiculous." All this over a dog. Not one apology, not 1 ounce of remorse. The next morning came a flood of missed calls and screaming texts. Then the extended family got involved. Aunt Delia suggested a family meeting to smooth things over. When I told her they sold my dog, she sighed and said, "Well, they did it for the grandkids." Click. Goodbye. I reached out to someone else, Aunt Marin. The quiet one. The sharp one. When I told her everything, she said 3 words that felt like a lifeline. "Come stay here." Her house smelled like old books and cedar. A place untouched by chaos. She prepared a guest room for me and even set out a water bowl for Miko. That night she made a single phone call. Her voice dropped into something cold and controlled. "We're talking tomorrow. Don't play stupid." I didn't need to hear the other end. I knew it was my parents. The next day she left the house with a folder thick enough to terrify anyone. When she returned, my phone exploded with messages. You involved Marin? How could you? Answer your phone. We need to talk. Marin took a sip of tea and said, they're embarrassed. Good. Later I would learn she'd walked into their house, dropped the folder on the table, and read every sin back to them like scripture. Every charge they made on that account. Every manipulation. Every lie. And when my mother tried to defend herself, Marin shut her down with, don't insult me. I'm not your daughter. But even then, even faced with undeniable proof, they didn't understand. They didn't feel guilt. They felt loss of control. 2 days later, my father had the audacity to send me a payment request. $200. What you owe us? I declined it so fast I laughed. I toured an apartment far away. Old. A little rundown. But it accepted pets. And it was mine. When I told Marin, she nodded like she'd been waiting for that moment. Good. Leave them no forwarding address. On move-in day, Miko jumped onto the mattress with a deep, exhausted sigh. My phone buzzed with more messages. Come home. We didn't mean it. You don't have to live like this. Stop acting crazy, because I finally left. I blocked them all. A week later, a letter appeared at my door. My mother's handwriting. Dramatic, tear-stained lines about how I'd understand once I had kids, how I was overreacting, how we could pretend this never happened if I came home. Not a single apology. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer, not to keep but to remember. That night Miko curled up on my chest, warm and steady. I whispered into his fur. They didn't know who they were messing with, because here's what I finally understood: when I stopped letting them use me, they stopped loving me. And that means they never loved me at all. Not the real me. Not the me who finally stood up. Not the me who refused to break. And I'm never going back.